Today, we're diving into an incredible story of conquest, collision, and, believe it or not, creation. We're talking about the Anglo-Norman period, a time when a single battle in 1066 didn't just hand over a crown, it totally rewrote the DNA of the English language. And it all kicked off with a violent crash, which really makes you wonder. And that's the big question, right? Because that is exactly what happened when William the Conqueror's army crossed the English Channel. Look, this wasn't just some political takeover. It was a head-on collision between two completely different worlds. And the fallout from that crash, well, it would echo for centuries. To really get the scale of this, you've got to see these two worlds side by side. On one hand, you have the Anglo-Saxon world. We're talking Germanic roots, the Old English language, stories like Beowulf. And on the other, the Normans. So much more continental, speaking French, rooted in a very rigid feudal society. The invasion didn't just swap out a king, it created this massive cultural chasm. And our story today is about how, over the next 300 years, a bridge was built to cross it. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, right after the dust settled from the Battle of Hastings. This is where we see how England became a nation with two totally different identities living right next to each other, but not really mixing. It was, for sure, a kingdom divided. And this right here shows you the linguistic split that took hold. It was pretty simple, really. If you were part of the new ruling class, in government, the church, a scholar, you were speaking French and Latin. But if you were one of the common people, the conquered Anglo-Saxons, you still spoke English. For generations, the language you used basically defined your spot in society. The rulers and the people they ruled literally did not speak the same language. But these two languages couldn't stay apart forever. It's just not how life works. Through the pressures of day-to-day living, trade, and, even marriage, they started to, bleed into one another. So now we're going to see how they didn't just live side by side, they actually started to fuse together. And what came out of that fusion was this: Middle English. This is the very foundation of our bridge. It's a true hybrid. It kept the sturdy grammatical bones of Old English, but it got flooded with thousands of new words from French. Words for law, for government, for art, for food. It was a brand new material, forged in the fire of that cultural collision. What this really did was create a language with an absolutely incredible vocabulary. It's the reason why today we can ask for help, which is Germanic, or we can request assistance, which is French. That dual heritage is a direct result of the Norman conquest. And it's what gives modern English its unmatched richness and flexibility. All right, so once you've got a new language, what can you do? You can tell totally new kinds of stories. With the foundation of Middle English set, it was time to start building the rest of our literary bridge. And the blueprints for all of this? They came straight from the continent. These were the new ideas that just poured into English literature. The Anglo-Saxons, they wrote about grim warriors and monsters. The Normans, though, they brought stories about chivalrous knights, romance, courtly love, and big adventures. These became the brand new building blocks for English storytelling. And this quote, even though it's from Chaucer a bit later, it just perfectly captures this new feeling. The very idea of chivalry, that's a French word, by the way, was a Norman import. It stood for a whole new kind of hero. Not just some tough warrior, but a worthy man of honor and courtesy. And it wasn't just poetry. This period actually saw the birth of English drama. It started pretty simply, with church guilds acting out Bible stories, but it evolved into all these different forms. You had mystery plays about the Bible, miracle plays about the lives of saints, and then morality plays, which used characters like good deeds and vice to teach lessons to everybody in their own language. Of course, this amazing construction project didn't just happen. It needed architects. It needed master builders who saw the incredible potential of this new English language and used it to shape how an entire country thought. And one of the first and most important was John Wycliffe. His contribution was just monumental. By pushing to get the Bible translated from Latin into English, he was making a huge statement. He was saying that English wasn't just for peasants. It was a language worthy of the Word of God. This single act elevated the status of the language like nothing else before it. Then you have a guy like William Langland. He took literature and turned it into a powerful tool for social commentary. His masterpiece, Piers Plowman, was like holding a mirror up to society, using allegory to point out corruption and question the powerful. Suddenly, literature was becoming the nation's conscience. So, let's bring it all together. The foundation's been laid, the main structure is going up, and the architects are hard at work. Now, we're going to see how a few key historical events put the finishing touches on this incredible bridge, paving the way for English literature's first real superstar. This timeline really shows you how it all happened. It kicks off with the conquest in 1066, starting centuries of blending. Then Wyclif's work gives English some serious prestige. And then a complete catastrophe hits, the Black Death. It was devastating, but it had this weird side effect. It shattered the old feudal system and empowered the English-speaking workers who survived. By the late 1300s, French influence was fading, and English, a new, richer, more powerful English, was back as the language of the nation. And that is the crucial point. This entire, messy, turbulent period, all 300 years of it, it really served one vital purpose in history. It was the bridge. It's what connects the ancient, heroic world of the Anglo-Saxons to the dawn of the modern literary age that we know. The bridge was finally complete. It was built out of a new language, new kinds of stories, and a whole new sense of national identity. And who was the first great figure to walk confidently across it, ready to use all its power and potential? Geoffrey Chaucer. And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. We like to think of cultures blending as this nice, peaceful thing. But here, it all started with a brutal invasion. So you have to ask yourself, without that violent collision that forced these two worlds together, would our incredibly rich and flexible English language and all the amazing stories we love that are written in it even exist the way we know them today?